"Oh no, not Twitter, not the hecking bird leaking my private information. I thought Twitter was supposed to be secure." Well, I guess it wasn't secure enough. So yeah, some accounts had their private information leaked, about 5.4 million, according to the post that was on breached forums. Now, let me give you some background into this data breach, because this was about 1 year in the making. So back on New Year's Day of this year, a security bug was submitted to Twitter as part of their bug bounty program. And I'm going to leave the details about the security vulnerability in the description in case you want to take a deep dive into the bug. But at a high level, this bug allowed people that were using Twitter's Android client to enumerate through phone numbers and emails in order to find any Twitter accounts that were linked to those phone numbers and emails, even if the user has prohibited looking up their accounts this way. So basically, this bug allowed anyone to dox any Twitter user, or at least to figure out what phone number and emails are associated with any Twitter account. And the person who discovered this bug went on to explain that it is indeed a very serious issue, because anybody with basic knowledge of scripting could just automate this account scraping process on several Android devices and basically dox all of Twitter. And sure enough, somebody did. Well, I can't say for sure if this breached user actually created a script to scrape all of the data of 5.4 million Twitter accounts themselves, but based on my personal theory of determining a hacker's skill level by how kawaii their profile picture is, I think it's safe to say that we are dealing with a very dangerous individual here. But the worst part about this data breach to me is how Twitter disclosed the vulnerability, because even though this is a pretty bad leak impacting one of the world's most popular social media platforms and the account scraping did not take a great deal of skill to do, Twitter waited until somebody actually started selling a database of this info to disclose the leak themselves publicly on Twitter. And yes, I know that this thread on HackerOne was public, and we had Twitter staff responding to this as early as January 6th, it looks like. But the point is, normies don't browse HackerOne. Normies browse Twitter. And so they probably should have been informed about this a whole lot sooner instead of waiting 7 months until after hackers were already selling people's info. So what is the impact of this leak? Is the whole world going to catch on fire? Well, no. Luckily, there were no passwords that were leaked in this database, because despite Twitter being a cesspool of the internet, the engineers that built it are at least smart enough to make sure that their API doesn't leak passwords. And even if it did, I'm pretty sure that the passwords are going to be hashed and salted. The way that everyone should be storing passwords and should have been storing passwords for at least the past decade. But phone numbers and emails are still very juicy pieces of data to have on somebody, and they could be used by spammers, certainly. I mean, there's going to be tons of people buying email lists, or they could be used by scammers for other malicious activities, social engineering. I wouldn't be surprised if people that were on this list of leaked account info are going to start getting emails or calls from IRS Special Agent John Smith that needs you to go down to your local Walmart and buy $500 Google Play cards in order to pay off your back taxes. Actually, I guess that's more of a boomer scam, and I think Twitter tends to lean more Gen Z. So they're probably going to start getting crypto scammers trying to hit them up, oh, make sure you invest all of your Ethereum in this next coin. It's going to the moon. Now, why don't we talk about how we can protect our accounts moving forward and the lessons that we can learn from this breach. So Twitter was kind enough to finally give us some ways to protect ourselves on August 5th. And they told us down here where it says how to protect your account that no passwords were exposed, but they encourage everyone who uses Twitter to enable two-factor authentication using authentication apps. Definitely you should do that, since now the phone numbers associated to accounts are found out, and so if you're just using SMS as two-factor, that's going to be even weaker now. So yeah, using an authenticator app is probably a good idea to secure any kind of account, really. But if we really think about this vulnerability, sure, it seems like it's a big deal because Twitter is a very popular service with a whole lot of accounts, but it's a completely unnecessary service for the vast majority of people. Okay, there is no reason for 99% of the world to have a Twitter account. Unless you're running a business or something like that, you know, you're like a politician that's trying to get elected for something, and you need to generate a whole bunch of traffic. You need to drive traffic to, say, your online store or, you know, your online presence. Again, if you're a candidate, you're probably going to have some kind of campaign website. Unless you're somebody like that, then you are wasting your time and your sanity by being on Twitter, by posting on Twitter, by especially arguing with people, because you're most likely arguing with bots, right? I mean, isn't that the whole reason why Elon Musk didn't want to buy Twitter, because most of the accounts are fake? But anyway, if you're not making money off of being on Twitter, there's probably no reason for you to have an account. And now that I think about it, the people who are making money off of Twitter, you know, business owners, they're not even really hurt by this because they probably have a business Twitter, right? They probably used a business email and a business phone number to create the account, both of which are probably public information that they display on their websites about or contact page. Now, I know what you're going to say. Oh, but Kenny, I don't actually tweet. You know, tweeting is super cringe. I just have an account because there's so many cool posts that I see on Twitter and I can't look at them. I can't read the comments. I can't do none of that cool stuff without creating an account first. Well, I have a solution for you. It's called Knitter. Knitter.net to be exact. So this is basically an open source alternative front end for Twitter. You can view tweets, you can look at memes, you can search for users. You know, we got the user search right here. So any person's Twitter feed you want to bring up, just put their username in here. Let's see, what is Elon Musk? That's like one of the more popular people on there. Boom. Look at that. We got Elon Musk. We can click on his username right here. And boom, you can see all of the cool stuff that heckin' Rocket Man tweets without ever actually having to go to Twitter. Now, the thing that I probably love the most about Knitter is it is a very lightweight website. If you have ever spent a good bit of time using Twitter, especially on your phone where you have limited bandwidth, you probably realize that it uses a whole lot of bandwidth. But most of what that you are downloading from Twitter is not even content that you pay attention to. Most of your bandwidth is being used by things you don't care about, okay? So let me actually demonstrate this to you right now. All right, we're gonna go into Inspect Element, we're going to go into Network, okay? So this is gonna show us all of the resources that Twitter loads. Look at all of this crap. Look at all of this that's being loaded just to view Elon Musk's page, and I guarantee you most of this is gonna be JavaScript. Yeah, sure enough. So we've got, and this is just one JavaScript file, you know, 557 KB. We got another one that's 231 KB. Let's see, how far do we have to go down until we get some actual content, like some actual tweets, you know? Probably down here somewhere in the JPEGs. This is his actual content, okay? Now, let's do the same thing on Knitter. Once again, we'll go to Inspect Element, we'll go to Network, and then I'm gonna do a hard reload of the page. Control-Shift-R if you're in a Chromium-based browser, okay? Now let's compare. Oh, look at this. The largest things that are being loaded are actually his tweets, right? Like pictures and like videos and stuff. Probably if we scroll down, we'll find one of them. So yeah, this is the stuff that you actually want to look at, okay? Our bandwidth is not being wasted loading a whole bunch of JavaScript and a whole bunch of bullshit. And you know, most of the time, like I know, some JavaScript devs are gonna be like, oh, JavaScript isn't bullshit. Okay, yeah, JavaScript is necessary for some things, but on a service like Twitter, most of the JS that they're loading is bullshit. It's ads, it's tracking, it's things that you don't even want, things that you're probably going to install an add-on. You know, you're gonna add more stuff into your browser to try to fight against these kinds of things. And then, you know, well, I don't think Twitter like disables you from using ad block, but then you have some sites that do. But anyway, Knitter is objectively 10 times smaller, or maybe even more than that, than Twitter is. It's using way less bandwidth. It doesn't show you any ads or tracking because it's not using JavaScript in the first place, and it is the superior alternative for consuming Twitter. Even though Twitter content is pretty lame in my opinion, but hey, if you're going to use it anyway, you know, if you're going to consume all this hecking content anyway, then I might as well show you how to do it in a way that reduces harm. So go forth, browse Knitter, without having to worry about doxing yourself. Like and comment to hack the algorithm, follow me on Odyssey, and have a great day.